So we'll just start with a handshake and then go from there. You ready?
Sounds good.
All right. Make sure your hands are clean. Filthy
Can we do
bastard.
like a... No, I'm joking.
Chef Chris Coleman is a local that grew up in Charlotte's Mountain Island Lake community. He spent his summers on his grandparents' farm in Purvis, Mississippi, where he learned to appreciate the value of local ingredients and community. He started college to study art and ceramics, but quickly realized he wanted to be a chef. Soon after starting culinary school, Chris began working at the McNinch House, and he was elevated to executive chef by the ripe old age of 22. Chris evolved and refined his cooking style there over the next 8 years, developing tasting menus and working with local ingredients. In early 2014, he opened the Asbury in the Dunhill Hotel, a 40-seat farm-to-fork restaurant where he earned 2 Best of the Best awards by Charlotte Magazine. In 2016, Chris became the new director of culinary experience at Charlotte Marriott City Center, overseeing Stoke Restaurant, Stoke Bar, and Coco and the Director Coffee House. His focus on seasonal American cooking with high-quality ingredients from local farmers, producers, and artisans has brought the Charlotte Marriott to a whole new level and is yet another exciting addition to Uptown Charlotte.
Chris,
Mark.
thanks for having us out today, brother.
Man.
So tell me a little bit about the move here.
I started in May of last year, so it's been 8-9 months or so. We opened up all of this, Stoke and Coco and everything, in August.
So you've got, there's Stoke, which is behind us here,
Right,
And then
yeah.
Coco and the Director.
Coco and the Director is that way.
Great coffee,
shop.
by the way. I
Yeah,
love
it's
it.
good coffee. And there's Stoke Bar, and there's the M Lounge, and there's banquets and catering and a lot of food.
So with Stoke, this was this a concept that they came to you with, or was this sort of, I mean, did they have an idea and they came to you and said, we want to do a Stoke, or was this sort of a little bit of back and forth, your personality there?
No, so this is a project that Marriott's been working on for 3 years, and I came on 3 months before we opened. So you can see I was kind of, my first day I remember I came in and they were like, okay, this is where you eat, this is where you pee, here's a stack of papers, get started, you know?
Right.
And it was like, let's hit the ground running with Stoke, because we really wanted to set Stoke apart from any other hotel restaurant out there as more of a real restaurant. We wanted to do something different here, something that was unique to Charlotte. And it's been good. It's been really, really weird to open with the caliber of talent that we have right off the bat. That doesn't happen. Like, it's
No.
usually something you have to build.
Usually you have, it's at like the critical mass
Yeah.
of cooks, and you just kind of hope that, you know, the good fish
Right.
stay here and the rest of them kind of get filtered off.
Right. No, I mean, we opened up from day one with an extremely solid team in Stoke, so
That's a good problem.
it's
to have.
nice. Yeah, it's cool.
So you're a Charlotte boy,
Yep.
and I mean, you've pretty much cut your teeth in Charlotte as far as being a chef is concerned, right?
Yeah, I went to UNC Charlotte out of high school for a year, and was going to go into graphic arts, and then kind of switched halfway through the first semester into ceramics. Really good.
Funny side note, because that's what I first went to school for, was going in for graphic arts.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and now I'm in school
And
for
now,
ceramics.
and now you're in school for ceramics. I was really, really good at the hand building side, like sculpture, but I couldn't throw a pot to save my life.
Do you throw pots back here?
I do all the time.
You're not a pan
No, I'm
thrower.
not a pan thrower. But I decided after a year, I was like, this isn't, what am I going to do with an art degree, really, besides go be an art teacher or something? You know, if you want to do art, you can still do art without
A degree.
a degree, a 4-year college degree. So I switched to culinary, decided to stay in town and go to CPCC for, it had everything that I wanted, and it was like a fifth of the price of Johnson & Wales
They've got a great program
in Charleston.
there.
They have an awesome program.
They've
This
had,
is
and
before-
they've had an awesome program though, like from
Yeah.
probably when you were there up to where they are now.
Yeah.
And now it's
and now it's stellar.
like every time you turn around, that school's garnering
Yeah,
another
accolades
Yeah,
and
exactly. I mean,
success.
they just lost Tony Zeiss,
Right.
who is, I think, amazing
Yeah.
as far as like taking a little school like that and really putting it on
blowing
that.
it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
on every stage.
So I went to culinary school, got a job at McNinch House while I was in school. And that's really where I cut my teeth, was at McNedge. I was there for like 9 years.
Wow. So you're 22 as an executive chef.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably one of the few other people, like I had that like dropped into my lap. And it's funny because now that
Yeah.
you probably were not qualified for it.
Not qualified at all. I mean,
But in a roundabout way though, aren't you though? Because it really does sort of set your tone differently. There's a lot of things you might have done differently.
Yeah.
But maybe you wouldn't be here right now either.
Yeah, it's true.
So anyways.
I think at that point, I was still, I didn't know who I was as a chef, right? I mean, 22, you're named executive chef of this place that's kind of lauded for what it is, and rightly so. So I was kind of taking some of the stuff that Ellen had been doing for, 15 years, 16 years at that point, putting my own little spin on it, and then ripping off Thomas Keller a lot.
Say ripping off or ripping?
Oh, ripping.
I think we have.
ripping.
I think I don't know that there's been
Yeah.
a chef that's in this country, anyways,
Right.
that's been more ripped off.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Maybe David Chang.
I would say
still put my
Keller.
money on Keller, but I think
Keller.
Chang's a close second now.
But I was there for a long time. I mean, I was there for 9 years, so I was able to kind of grow into who I am now, which is this. I think what I try to do is this mix of elevated food and comfort food, and see how I can blend the two. Because I mean, food's at its best when it's from your heart.
Right.
I was at McNedge House for a while. I felt like I didn't really have a lot of room to kind of spread my wings there. So I started this pop-up called the Market Kitchen in 2012. We did a couple of little pop-ups. We did one at Harvest Moon Grill when that was still in operation. We did one at Courtney Buckley and Ben's farm when they had that out in Concord. And then we did one at the Beckler, which got a lot of attention. It was 110 people. We took over the Beckler lobby and did 4 courses based on a bunch of artwork in the space, and that got a lot of attention, and that piqued the interest of the people at the Dunhill, and they reached out to me about coming on board to be their culinary director. So I got a little bit of hotel experience, boutique hotel experience there. We opened up the Asbury while I was there. That did pretty well. It's still doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And then it's been kind of a recurring theme in my career that stuff falls in my lap, and I'm totally not qualified for it, but this kind of fell into my lap.
Well, you feel
here
you're not
as well.
qualified for it. I think, I think there's a reason why people seek you out, though.
Well, I think that you have to be. I talked to the kids at CP about this the other day. Like, you have to be flexible in your career as a chef, because things are going to come around that are extremely awesome opportunities. And if you're like, oh, I'm not qualified for it, I'm not going to go for it, you never know where you'll end up.
Right.
So even though I felt like I wasn't really qualified for this, I jumped at it, and I'm still kind of learning my way, but it's cool.
You're very thoughtful. I don't consider you to be sort of knee-jerk. You think it out, and then you move at a very directed path.
So there's an eventual goal, right? Like that's one thing I talk about to our cooks all the time is know exactly who you want to be, know exactly what you want to be, and then figure out a way to get there. And then don't deviate from that path.
So like every chef has this dream
Yeah.
of opening
Right.
25, 30 seat restaurant.
Yeah.
Is that yours?
40 to 60, because you can't make money at a 25 to 30, but 40 to 60, I think you can make money. And exhibition kitchen like we have here at Stoke, but heightened in a sense of its refinement. But with all the cooks wearing like t-shirts and us like blasting Sex Pistols and Wu-Tang, like that's the wet dream, is like
Right.
really loud punk and dirty rap music, but like tweezed out food.
So you had an opportunity to go do the Beard House, part of a dream team, another dream team.
Yeah, that was cool. So yeah, we had the opportunity to kind of represent Charlotte, this Taste of Charlotte thing. Me, Paul Verica, Blake Hartwick, and Ashley Boyd, and then we reached out to Bob Peters and said, someone's got to make us drinks while we're there. So
So you mean
so we'll
might as well
find
just bring somebody.
Exactly, we'll find somebody to do that.
Bob?
But well, we thought that mixology was a big part of it, and it's an underrepresented part of Charlotte. Charlotte's food scene is starting to get a little bit of buzz, a little bit of attention. I mean, thanks to guys like Paul and Joe and Clark. But the drinks that we have here in Charlotte are starting to get to the level where the food is, Bob's a real big reason of that, so
Yeah.
we wanted to bring him along. But that was a lot of fun, and I had never really worked in a kitchen with any of those 3 chefs. We've done some events together, but to be with them for a solid 3 days and prepping leading up to it, and then going out together after the dinners and hanging out and doing some fun things while we were up there. It was
You guys did
it was
the
pretty cool.
what was that? You guys did was it the fried chicken?
We did a fried chicken battle. So
That was awesome, by the way. That
Yeah.
was such a great idea.
Jeff McGinnis and Janine Booth are chefs. They have a spot in Miami. They have a spot in New York called Root and Bone, where they're doing Southern food, and they've been voted like best fried chicken biscuit in their neighborhood in Manhattan for a few years. And we're like, let's have some chefs from the South come up and show you how to make like a real fried chicken biscuit. So that was pretty cool.
How'd that work out? So this was a competition, right?
Yeah.
Of sorts.
Of sort. Very, very friendly, very loose competition.
Right. Who ended up winning?
But we won by a landslide. I mean, like a landslide. But
Off the record,
yeah.
how good's their chicken and biscuits?
Their chicken biscuits were very good.
Yeah.
I mean, like really good. But ours had, when you put 4 chefs together and you're like, okay, everyone take like a segment of a dish and just do the best you can do at it, it's probably gonna win hands down.
Who made the biscuits?
I made the biscuits.
Not Ashley.
Not Ashley. I made the biscuits. Blake did the chicken. Paul did a kind of a slaw of like bok choy and some cabbage and stuff. It was really, really good. And then Ashley made a strawberry jam to go on it that was like phenomenal. So yeah, we went back and forth between me and Ashley doing the biscuits. But
Did you guys actually?
I think that's one thing where I like kind of put my foot down and I was like, okay, I want to make some biscuits, and she kind of backed off and let me do it. So.
That's saying something, because she's no
Yeah.
slouch.
She's no slouch.
Actually, Blake's no slouch on the biscuit either.
Yeah.
I've not had Paul's. I would imagine they're probably pretty solid as
Yeah.
well. So,
Yeah.
but you do got to play to your strengths. So.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about your food philosophy and life philosophy. Where do they intersect?
Food is really at its best when it's from your heart and when there's a story to it. So I try to honor my family and honor what I grew up eating, while at the same time being conscious of what the guest wants. So elevate it a little bit, refine it a little bit, but tell a story, have a voice.
Yeah, I don't find your food to be fussed over.
No.
Like, I know it's been cared for.
It's cared for, but it's intentionally not fussed over.
I know exactly where you're coming from. Like when we ate at Prune, which is
Yeah.
a great restaurant.
Right.
But her food comes from a place that, for me, works as a chef.
Yeah.
I'm a storyteller,
Yeah.
and I'm a story gatherer. So
Yeah.
when somebody cooks from there,
Yeah.
it works for me automatically.
So Prune is in my top 3 of all time.
yeah. I wept.
meals that I've
I
had.
wept at one of the
Yeah.
dishes.
Yeah.
And you don't get that a lot.
Yeah.
Seriously, you don't.
That restaurant is my food philosophy.
You've never really fallen prey to the stay out all night, like party lifestyle by any
Yeah,
stretch in this
I've-
industry. You were always a smart one. Like if we did go out, usually the smart one. I think
Yeah.
I left before you once.
Yeah.
On the times we've been together.
I got married young. I mean, I got married when I was 20.
This is exactly what I was going to say. Wait,
yeah.
you were 20 when you got
I was
married?
20. My wife was 21. She's a cougar. But personal philosophy. I want to be a husband. Like I want to be a dad. I had great parents growing up, and they must have instilled some sense of kind of family man in me, because that's what I draw. That's what I draw to, and everyone else is going out or wanting to hang out after work. I'm like, I really would rather just go home and sit on the couch next to my wife and watch some crappy show.
I'm there now. It took me a long time.
Yeah.
And nothing on my wife's end, just me, because I'm an idiot.
Yeah. And I mean, now that I've got kids, it's even more so. Like when I'm not at work, because we work long hours and they're hard hours to work, I want to hang out with the kids.
when you write the schedule for your cooks, you try to give them a semblance of a normal lifestyle?
Yeah.
Like, do they get 2 days off? Do you give them to them back to back?
Yep. That was one thing that Ellen at McNitch was really big on, was like, you have a weekend. Like, you have to have a life outside of work. You have a
Even if
weekend.
it's Tuesday, Wednesday,
Yeah,
you need
yeah.
your weekend.
So I do that here. So everyone has 2 days off, back to back, to the best of my ability. There are weeks where you have to split people, but you know.
That happens.
It
Sometimes
happens.
people need they need a specific day off, and it
Right.
just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I think when you're upfront with that, I mean, I've always told my cooks that. I'm like, I do my best to give you some kind of quality of life.
Right.
You know, with best of my control,
Right.
within, everything that's given to us.
Yeah, we can't continue to just pile on to our cooks and work them to death, and
Or ourselves.
or ourselves. Probably need to pay a little bit better. We probably need to have some benefits and need to make sure they have a bit of a work-life balance. But
Paying a little better comes. This is not that easy, though.
No.
I mean, you
Oh,
know,
I know.
I
I
know you've seen P&Ls. So.
yeah, profit margins are extremely slim. Like, extremely slim.
And getting slimmer.
Yeah.
And on top of it, so now you're here in Uptown Charlotte,
Right.
working for a worldwide corporation,
Yeah.
hotel chain, and you're dealing with local farmers.
Yeah. So that
I love the idea of big corporations, because if you can throw a little bit of their money into your
Oh, yeah.
local economy,
Yeah.
especially agriculture.
Yeah, and that was the idea behind Stoke as an outlet. I mean, there's a lot of outlets on board here, but Stoke, they really wanted to plug into Charlotte. So they hired a Charlotte guy to be their chef, and then they were like, okay, chef, like, go out, work, like, bring your people in. And I had already developed a relationship with a lot of the farms that we use here, and to bring them on board and say, okay, I know I've only been buying 20 pounds of turnips a week, but I'm in a space now where I can afford 100 pounds of turnips a week. Can you keep up?
Mm-hmm.
That's been the biggest issue, is just the amount of business that we do here, the amount of covers that we're doing, and trying to still source locally and trying to find farms that can work with the amount of volume that we need.
So we were talking about Charleston and the specter that it has had over Charlotte in general, and I think we've come to the conclusion that the chefs have moved on to a certain degree. Do you think we're finally over Charleston here? Because we're
not competing with it anymore, or not?
I don't even know if it was competing. It was like, it's almost like we put it in our own way.
Yeah.
It's like Charleston. I'm like, why don't we just do Charlotte? And I'm not saying I have the answer. It seemed once we got going and I kind of got out of it,
Yeah.
there was still like, and I'm not saying it was me, but as this next generation was coming up, it was still a specter, like, ooh, Charleston.
I think we're starting to get out of it. And it's not just Charleston. There's Atlanta, and there's Asheville, and there's the Triangle. So Charlotte for so long has been trying to figure out who it was as a food city. Mm-hmm. All these other cities, Charleston, Atlanta, Asheville, Triangle, get all this love and attention from regional and national press, and Charlotte often gets overlooked. So I think that we put Charleston on a shelf as something that we wanted to attain, because we felt like, our food was just as good as theirs, and we weren't getting that attention. But a lot of people were trying to emulate it almost, like,
Sure.
Trying to do the same thing. Like, they saw where Charleston was, and they wanted to do the same thing to get there.
And that's what I meant by over it.
Yeah.
And it's not a knock, obviously, on any of it. And it's funny when you were talking, just when you said like the traditions that these cities have, and I think we're busy making our own traditions that we didn't even realize.
Right.
And all of a sudden now we have it.
What I love about where we are as a city is that, yes, we're making our own traditions, but it's not like one thing. Because Charlotte is a city that there's no real locals to Charlotte. I mean, they're around, but I was born here, but there's not a local tradition. We don't have a Low Country. We don't have an Appalachian to draw from.
Right.
So it's the city of transplants. So you have all of these chefs that are coming in and defining what Charlotte food is in their own way, like right now, and that's super exciting. So we don't really have a Charlotte cuisine. We don't really have a Charlotte dish, and I think that's fine.
Yeah. Well, I think that, I've always stated when I first got in, like when I got down here and I got Lulu open, and I was having a conversation with Helen Schwab, And I had said to her, I was like, maybe the reason that we're looking at Charleston, where they have a culinary tradition, and we're missing out on I didn't use the word tradition, but we have our agriculture, and that's the thing that binds us all together. Yeah. Every single chef that I know, and almost every single chef that I don't know, can't have a menu without dealing with local agriculture.
That's nail on the head right there. Even though chefs are doing a lot of different things, they're all using the same farms. They're all using the same produce when they're putting their own voice to the sweet potato, to the beet, to the turnip, to the corn, and it's.
That was almost a song,
cool.
buddy.
Ah.
To the beet, to the turnip. I was just waiting for you to keep on dropping rhymes.
Tonight's special, same as last night. For those of you who weren't here, it's a seared North Carolina striped bass.
You come across as a fairly spiritual guy.
Yeah, I have a personal faith that I practice, and I think it makes me more well-rounded and more rooted. And I have beliefs that I'll stand up for and defend.
I find that you tend to walk the walk better than a lot that just talk the talk louder. Which isn't really a question. I guess it's more of a compliment.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably one of the better compliments I've ever received. So I appreciate it. I feel like I don't always walk the walk as much as I could, but I do try to live by the teachings to the best of my ability. I'll say.
I mean, what else can you do?
What else can you do?
When I sit down and do this discussion with you, I don't want to have I don't have a lot of scripted things, but there are, I try to distill somebody down into a general idea for myself.
Right.
Like the same way you do a dish, it's like, how do I touch on the sweet, the sour, and the salty of this individual, the depth of this person? And that was the thing that just kept popping up. And I couldn't think of a single instance where it was like, this is me. Like, you don't put this iconography of yourself out there. Right. I think you carry it very well because you do it you live it as an example. That's
directly attributed to my parents and the way I was raised. I mean, I think that I was in church like the Sunday after I was born, probably.
Do you mind if I ask, what is your faith?
So, I would describe myself as a red letter Christian.
I've never heard that term. What is
that? So it's fairly new. Red letter Christianity follows the teachings of Christ, and that's it. Because if you look at a Bible, if you open a Bible, everything in red is what Jesus said, and so everything else falls away. It's just what his teachings were, and that's what we follow. And he's a pretty good teacher. So,
as a person that's been, I was a born again Christian for a number of years. I grew up Catholic.
Yeah.
That was sort of what turned me off to all of that.
Yeah.
Catholicism, I love the iconography. I like the ritual. It fits everything about the restaurant industry. All these little things, and then wanting to get away from that and figuring that born again Christianity would be, I guess what you're calling now red letter, which was not by any stretch of the imagination. It was more exclusive.
Yeah. At some point, ritual overtakes faith. I would say that I'm a person of faith. I'm not a religious person because religion is man-made, and we set up this institution to say this is the way you have to go about things, and I don't feel like that's the way that I don't personally feel that's the way that God wants us to be. If you open the scriptures, Jesus said love. He didn't say love only the Christians. He said love. So let's love everybody.
You've been in church since you were a kid.
Yeah.
And this is your mom?
It's my mom, Jackie. She was actually the church pianist, and then took over as a minister of music. So I've got that going for me too. Got a great love of music.
Are you a musician?
From her. I was in a punk band in high school.
What did you play?
I was the singer. I didn't play anything, and I dyed my hair a different color every 2 weeks, and wore spikes, and it was fun. But Mom is probably the biggest influence in my life. So I wouldn't be cooking professionally if it wasn't for her, if it wasn't for my grandmother. A lot of chefs start off cooking with their moms, with their grandmas, and I'm no different in that respect.
Right.
So
tell me a little bit about this pan that's here. We were talking about biscuits earlier.
So the cast iron is kind of important to me for several reasons. Number one, it's like the best cooking utensil there is. From searing to sauteing to roasting, whatever, you can do it in a cast iron skillet. This particular one is important. This was my mama's skillet. And she passed away in 2013, a year after my mom. My mom passed away in 2012. My grandmother passed away a year later. But the last time that I visited Mississippi, where Mama lived, she gave me this skillet because she was like, I don't really have a use for it anymore. You know, your grandfather's on a diet now; he can't eat biscuits every morning, and she was like, I'm not going to make biscuits for myself every day, but this was the skillet she just made their breakfast in every day. And she was like, just take it home. You know, I don't need it anymore. And so it has a big, I mean, sentimental kind of emotional attachment to it. And it's just representative of who she was as a woman, who she was as a cook, and kind of what I've tried to do with my career. So I don't cook in it a ton. It kind of has a special place on the counter at home.
You said you don't, right?
I do every now and then. I'll bust it out. Like I mean, I cooked some biscuits in it yesterday, actually, but it's not my go-to at home. Number one, because it's just because of its size. It's small. But cast iron is getting overused and played out in restaurants, like
as far as the visual impact.
As far as the visual impact, but just the emotional and kind of almost spiritual impact of it. It's important. It's there.
What do you think? What do you think is going to be the next visual trend in restaurants?
Oh God.
What are you seeing? What are you seeing a lot of?
I can't wait until we go back to the day where we just played on a plate. You know, instead of a wooden board or slate or whatever. Like just put a white plate down, put some food on it, make it look nice.
Or a custom-made, handcrafted bowl.
But yeah, I mean, just pottery or china or I'm over boards. I'm over cast iron. We use them here. I mean, it's
expected.
Yeah, it's expected now, but I can't wait till the day where we can just go back to putting things on plates.
I think it'll backlash.
Yeah.
It's probably about 5 years out for the full.
Somebody's
bound to do it real soon.
Yeah.
Although some never did. You know, you still look at prune, and they never really did.
Yeah.
You know, if you had a board on the table, it's because there was bread on it.
Right.
Or I think they did it with a whole rabbit too.
Yeah.
And that was about it. I meant to ask you earlier. We were talking about music. So you, because of where you're at, you don't really get the kitchen to yourself here much, do you?
Oh, never.
You know that magic time that you used to get? You go in and just crank your music and nobody's there.
Go to church and it's just you and No, we don't really. I don't get that at all anymore. There's, especially being in a hotel. I mean, we're open 24/7 basically. There's always somebody here.
Are there any kitchens with music going on right now?
Yeah, I mean, we have a production kitchen in the back that will have music.
So I always wonder about that in these, you know, in places like this, if that happens still.
And they built speakers into the kitchen here in Stoke, so we can hear the music that's being played overhead.
What kind of music gets played?
A lot of indie rock, and
so it's not.
So I'm fine with it. I actually I enjoy our PM playlist. Our AM playlist is like coffee house-ish, and gets a little like, okay, I don't know if I can hear the same like Philip Blunt song again, you know. But at night it's a lot of like Matt and Kim and just some cool dancey kind of indie rock stuff. Every now and then, like a Wu-Tang song or a Tribe song will slip in, and then the chefs or the cooks get extremely excited. They're like, "Oh yeah!" But yeah.
What do you think of the new Tribe Called Quest album?
It's good.
It's awesome.
It's really good.
That blew me out of the water.
Yeah.
I think the world. It's, if nothing else, with the climate, the way the world is at this particular time, as you and I are talking,
it's kind of needed.
Art and music are really going to start to pop again.
Yeah.
In a way that is.
Yeah.
Unheard of.
There's been a lot of things to rail against.
Yeah.
So I think the music's going to get better.
Let's hope so. I know the food won't. I think on that note, we're there, brother.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having us out today.
Hey, man. Thank you.
Congratulations on all of this.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
So do we. Now we got to look at the camera and wave.
All right.
Shut it off, Pete.
He's just going to keep rolling.
He will.
See what happens. Yeah.